Hi, Jess. So I'm actually really excited to kind of go over this. I'm definitely more of a hot horse kind of girl, so being able to help people with horses that maybe they're not used to or with different kind of issues is one of my favorite things. Um, so really the main thing, and I'm sure you've kind of got this with a lot of the thoroughbreds that you ride, is pretty much the same philosophy, is that you just want her to be able to use her mind a little bit more, right? So right here you can kind of see that she's a little inconsistent on the bit, more so because she looks a little distracted, right? And she doesn't have a whole lot of power from behind. So instead of trying to kind of calm the hotness down to a degree, kind of use it to your advantage by really stimulating her brain, right? So saying, oh, you're not thinking about things, say, oh, well, we're going to do some fun exercises and we're going to keep working so that you kind of settle down into your own brain as opposed to we're just going to wait it out. Maybe that won't ever happen. You know, some horses stay tense. So we're just being as efficient as we can. So I like that you kind of start off and you're doing a lot of circles. For her especially, she looks to be a little stiff, a little right up in front of her haunches, right in that lower back area. And she doesn't really want to bend in that area. So when she moves, she kind of yields away from your leg, but not around it, right? So what I would do, you kind of have the tendency to try and bring your inside leg a little too far back behind that line. Is think, you're trying really hard to be like, no, we're going to listen. Instead, try and think, keep your body the way it is, keep your legs steady, and then just try and get her brain to work a little bit, right? So what I would do for a lot of my horses that can be kind of stiff like that is I'll do a lot of smaller circles. So I'll do like little 10-meter circles. So even like right here, she kind of stays stiff through that back area. And so she doesn't really show the suppleness and the bend that you really want from training and first level. So what I would do, if you had right there in the corner and did a 10-meter circle and kind of pushed her out a little bit. So I'm sure you've heard of like the spiral in, spiral out. I don't like doing the spiral ins as much with the young horses because I don't think that really helps their bend at all. And unless the horse really knows how to half pass, I don't think it's really as beneficial as the spiraling out version. So what I would do, especially at the beginning, start on the 10 meters and just every couple strides push her away with a little bit of leg and a little bit more and a little bit more until she gets a little bit more correct in it. That can kind of help when you can see right here, she kind of moves away, but she doesn't curve around you. I find sometimes too that widening your hands a little bit and funneling her into a tunnel can kind of help a little from there. Just because, it gives her the opportunity to have a little bit wider support and really kind of understand and have something almost a little to balance on while she's figuring out the idea, right? And then from there, eventually she can have a little bit more self-carriage. But until she really gets the idea, kind of exaggerating it and really showing it off, I think, kind of makes it easier to understand. So for her, probably, straight lines and huge circles are kind of, harder to have her go correctly. Like she looks very nice and she looks lovely. But in terms of fixing her problems of, needing that slight bit more bend and a little bit on the engagement, it doesn't do a whole lot. Here you go over the bull. So then again, just the same thing. Another thing that I might do is a lot of transitions, right? So with a hot kind of horse, I'd love to see her gradually start to get more and more collection behind. Not so much that you're pulling back or doing anything, other than just increasing the energy without speeding her up. So that's going to help with the smaller circles, trying some different exercises. I really like smaller figure eights, maybe like 15 to 20 meters, and just doing a figure eight like that until she can really, just from one stride, bend completely correctly off into the next rein. So something maybe where, you start off from the walk and you just do a lot of walk trot transitions, working on pushing her forward through that walk transition and then moving it. We'll see in the canter a little bit later where she can kind of get a little sticky. But here again, right, I would do that kind of size circle, but then I would continue to kind of push her around and really start thinking about bending around. For horses that know haunches in, sometimes I suggest that you do a stride or two of haunches in on the circle just to kind of have her thinking a little bit more around the leg. But if you're just kind of going into first level, I don't think that at this moment might be as beneficial as it will be maybe once you start playing a little bit more with the movement, because I think that's always very helpful. And then here she starts to look a little steadier, but here's also where I probably ask a little bit more, so you can see how she doesn't really have a curve up through her back. She doesn't seem to be as through her body as she could be. So it's nice, but I kind of always have the philosophy of make them comfortable where you're at and then ask for a little bit more. So instead of being like, oh, you were comfortable, cows are scary. When as soon as you kind of ask, oh, okay, you're comfortable here, you're all good. Now we're going to ask for that slight bit more. So it's a little bit more work until eventually that becomes their normal, and then you can ask a little bit more. And then you have this really high quality animal in front of you with all this training. You're like, how did this even happen? Another little exercise, just with the trot canters, and getting her a little, you said she's hot, and being able to use that to your advantage. So as soon as you press your leg in for the aid, that she's like, all right, here we go. And then as soon as she gets in the canter, maybe 2-3 strides, and ask her to trot. And then maybe another 2-3 strides, and then ask her to trot again. So that's going to kind of help her keep her body underneath her, right? So she starts off kind of nice, but a little strung out. And then as you keep going, she gets a little bit more and more strung out and flat, as opposed to powerful and lifting, right? So that kind of helps, where I would say, you trot for maybe 4 strides, and you canter for maybe 4 or 5. And the ideal is to just kind of get it as light and as off the age through your leg as possible, to the point where she kind of knows something's going to happen. So I have to stay balanced and prepared and be able to carry myself and really use my muscles. Another one, I kind of mash together my circles and figure eights and my transitions. So I'll do maybe a 20-meter serpentine. And as I hit the middle each time, I'll make a transition, right? So I might take a circle to the right, and then once I hit center line, I'll canter, make a canter, circle left, trot right, and then eventually kind of switch it up a little bit, right? Another thing that I would do for her, that's nice, yeah. And then you see right here where she could have kind of bent around. And I would say instead of trying to use that indirect rein, I would kind of open up my hand a little bit and make her do a little 10-meter circle and really push her around your leg, so that she kind of gets a little bit paying more attention on you, right? Which is a little easier said than done, especially when you're riding it in the moment. But being able to kind of do something like that and really pushing her over, I know, things are so scary. There's not a whole lot you can really do about that other than just, keeping her mind kind of engaged and really thinking about you. And eventually, they get over it a little bit. But horses are still prey animals. They're not gonna... it's kind of scary. Cows are big. They make weird noises. But, yeah, that's kind of the thing. And then, yeah, there you go. And then from there, I would also kind of start with circles, just so that she really starts to bend around your leg. There you go. And then another thing I would do, which I started to get into before we made a little spook, is do a lot of, in the trot and the canter, mostly trot, because at the canter you have to have a lot of muscle, and eventually she'll get there, is just making a very, very small but collected gait. So having her really collected and really you have to use your legs, like push her into it, and just have it that she has so much power contained, but that instead of going forward and flat with it, she becomes very, very powerful and up. And then from there, you'll be able to push that forward, go into a different gait, or do pretty much anything you want, and have a very, very, very strong, beautiful picture, where she's probably a lot lighter off of your aids eventually, that she's more powerful through her hind end, and that just gives that picture when you look and the judge is sitting there, they just go, wow, like that's nice, And I like how she's trying to come in through your contact and kind of stretch a little bit, even though she's still a little distracted at times. And, she really doesn't look that heavy for a draft cross, and as she kind of starts to come up a little bit, she seems lighter and lighter and lighter, right? And so that's the goal, to be able to see through her training that she becomes so light off of her feet because she's got that much muscle and engagement going on. I really, really loved her. I think you've got a lot going for you. I just think it's a lot of, things that can build up. So really focusing on the transitions, kind of getting her a little bit more powerful through that hind end, and really working her mind through a lot of different exercises. I like to do leg yields through circles more so than I do through straight lines, just because I constantly want that inside hind pushing a little bit more through the circle, right? So when you're straight, it's a little hard to be like, yeah, push through the inside hind, like keep going. Whereas on a circle, you can kind of really exaggerate it and be like, yes, we're pushing. Yes, we're coming around into my outside rein. Yes, we are getting this, right? So just those transitions, walk, trot canters, having it within the gait, so collected trot and then to a normal trot. I don't know how much you've played around with lengthenings yet, but for any horse, even the horses I have at the upper levels, really having them collect and then coming out and then collecting. And then eventually, once she really starts to get that bend, being able to do circles and a counter bend, and that's how you kind of start off with all of your second level movements. You now have both ways you can go whenever you put your leg on. She's there, she's ready, and just being able to figure her out and say, this is what we need. So I think for the most part, she's the kind of horse that, because she's a little hotter, but she also needs that engagement, being able to do a lot of different things, so like smaller circles, playing around with the dimensions, doing a lot of different cool exercises, is going to help her brain just get there a little bit more than going around the track or doing bigger circles is going to do for her, until it becomes very automatic. Oh, okay, as soon as I put my leg on, I know, like, here we go, we're going to bend around, I'm here for you, and I'm ready. She's wonderful, and hopefully you get to go to a show soon, because I'd really, really love to see videos of when that actually happens, and good luck.